with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
You will never conquer what you are unwilling to confront. You will never conquer what you are unwilling to confront. If you face it, God will help you to fix it. But you've got to confront it. If you keep avoiding people that you are perturbed with, why will they change? How will they even know that what they are doing is offensive to you? So you do not resolve conflict by simple avoidance. Number two, what does not work is the silent treatment. I know some people thought that that was God's gift to you, was to just give them the silent treatment. But people fail to get along because they fear each other. And they fear each other, Martin Luther King said this, they fear each other because they don't know each other, and they don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Communication is the basis of relationship. Relationships are the essence of life, but communication is the basis of relationship. When you get people who stop talking, you begin to damage severely the relationship. You all have an argument and you all walk around for 3 days without speaking, you better watch. You better watch it. Dangerous, dangerous. Don't use the silent treatment thinking I'm going to really put pressure on them. I'm going to really put pressure, because it does not bring resolution. We're talking about conflict resolution. The silent treatment doesn't work anything out. Number three, torturous nagging. Torturous nagging. One man said, he said, my wife and I, when my wife and I argue, she becomes historical. His friend said, don't you mean hysterical? He said, no, I mean historical. He said, because she starts reminding me of everything that I ever did wrong. That's torturous nagging. It does not resolve conflict. Number four, what does not work is ultimatums. Giving a person an ultimatum, trying to make people change. You know why? Because a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And just because you have silenced an enemy does not mean you have conquered him. I know that you thought that silence shows consent. Well, sometimes silence means that they are so mad that they just don't want to say anything because they will cuss you out. And maybe they're just trying to be respectful to you, so they're just not saying anything. But when you try to give people ultimatums and force them to change, when they have not changed on their own volition, you will find that if they do change like that, it is generally short-lived. It certainly is a poor method of conflict resolution to give a person an ultimatum. Number five is the blame game. Very, very poor for resolving conflict. Because whenever you blame somebody, you empower them, saying essentially to them that you have more control over my destiny than I do. And when you deal with the blame game, understand that blaming is refusal to accept responsibility. Whenever you blame somebody, you're simply saying to them, I refuse to accept my responsibility in this relationship. And you want to put it all on the other person. When you blame, it is your refusal to accept responsibility. So the blame game is not a good way to resolve conflict. Number six is power plays. Power plays. This really is a form of manipulation. It really is. It's a form of manipulation and control, which generally causes resentment and retaliation. It really does. And then the seventh thing that does not work in terms of conflict resolution is called shuffling. Shuffling. Now, shuffling is when you got a problem situation and you move it around, and you think you solve it. I mean, you know how when you get behind in the rent at this apartment complex and you move to another one? You really haven't solved your problem, have you? You've only moved the problem. You have shuffled the problem to another address, but you have not solved the root problem of what's causing the issue. When you shuffle the problem, shuffling is a poor means of conflict resolution. I mean, wouldn't you be upset if you went to the doctor and the doctor tells a woman, you know, we have found malignant cells in your right breast, and the doctor said, now what we're going to do, you're lucky that you came in today, because we're going to move those cells from the right breast to the left one. Shuffling cancer from the right to the left does not solve the issue of free radicals and the damage that they do in your body in causing malignant cells on one side to the other. You don't want it to be shuffled around in your body from your left lung to your right lung. You want it eradicated. You want it out of the body. So shuffling is not a good idea. It's not a good idea. You'll be surprised when you have problematic people and then you move them around into another position thinking that if I move them over here, everything will be okay. No, what you've done is you've moved cancer around. And cancer needs to be excised, cut out. Now, I want to give you 5 basic styles of dealing with conflict. This conflict arose in the church. It arose between religious people and then newfound Christians. And it arose between 2 Christians. You do realize that Christian folks come into conflict with each other. I mean, just because we all tote the same Bible, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that, you know, that we all see things eye to eye. It's amazing. It is honestly amazing. And who is God supposed to let win when you got Christian folks on this side of the football team and Christian folks on this side, and both of them are praying to the same God, saying, God, let me win? I mean, how does God decide that? Does he cast lots? I mean, is it that you won last time and I'm going to let them win this time? Or because these people have been more dutiful in their Bible reading or going to church or paying their tithes, I'm going to bless them? How do you figure that he deals with that? But our point is that whether you're saved or not, you're going to run into conflict even with other saved people. If Paul and Barnabas ran into conflict and caused them never to walk again together, how much more will you run into folks? I mean, these were anointed, miracle working people, and they could resolve a little conflict with another person that dealt with another person. It wasn't even between the 2 of them, but it dealt with another person. But here I want to give you 5 basic styles of dealing with conflict. Number 1 is yield. You know, if you're arm wrestling somebody, if you just yield and just let them go on and take your arm down, you know, it's over. Okay, you win. You know, just yield. You know what this is a principle of? It's where you give in order to get along and keep peace. You just give in order to get along and keep peace. Now, I do want you to understand that there is a place for yielding. There is a place for yielding. I was in the store the other day, and I was saying something to my wife, and my wife said, you don't want me to cause a scene in here. She threatened me. She said, you don't want me to cause a scene in here. Now, I had never heard her say that before. And for some reason, I got tickled. Because I said, you want to go to the parking lot? Come on, Cletus, come on. But there's a time to yield. You know, you might be in a public place and you're discussing something, and you know if you get into the discussion of it, one party might get loud on you. There's a time to just yield and say, you know what, okay, oh, you're right. Just go ahead and yield. I mean, just to avoid public embarrassment. You do understand what I'm talking about? That there is a time and a place to just yield and say, you know what, I mean, I would deal with that, but you know, this is not the time nor the place. I'm going to wait until they cool down. I'm going to wait until they've eaten and they're much more patient. They are irascible right at the moment. You know what the word say, irascible? Irascible means easily upset. Easily upset. So there's some times that a person is irascible because you're dealing with them because they were tired. They're tired. A person just coming in off the road, just coming in from work, that's not the best time to deal with problems. Just go ahead and yield right at that time, because you'll use other circumstances that will cloud the real issue. The issue is here when they're tired, or if they're hungry, they happen to be irritable because they've gone through a barrage of other issues and they just can't deal with it right at that time. So there is a time to actually yield, and that your yielding can actually help you to save face and keep your blood pressure under control and all of those kinds of things. It's very interesting. I just read this week, a couple in Kansas, brilliant people. One of them was a trainer for NASA. The other one was, I think an astronaut or something. He was some type of a pilot or something with NASA. And the wife was a trainer for them. And they were in a counseling session. And the man, they got into some issues. The man confessed that he had been in an affair with this other woman for some time. And she's learning of the affair in a counseling session with her husband. And the husband tells her that he doesn't intend to cut the affair off. And the wife, well-educated woman, how many of you know that caused a little conflict? And he told her that he wanted a divorce. She got in her automobile, just got up and left and got in her automobile. Drove 250 miles down into Texas. Went to the mistress' home. The mistress opened the door. Her mother was there. She asked the mistress her name, shot her in the face 3 times and killed her. And the mistress' friend, who happened to be a police officer, later testified that this woman had been in relationship with the guy that was a colonel. And as soon as she found out that the man was married, she broke the relationship off. And I just want you to see what can happen when you have conflict and you allow emotions to drive you instead of truth. It can drive you to do some regrettable things that you can't even take back later. It was a time for her to have yielded, and now she had ended an innocent life. And the mistress, her mother, witnessed her own daughter being shot 3 times at point-blank range and brutally murdered. And she didn't know the full story, but was infuriated. And these are people in their 50s. It's interesting that there's a time to be able to just yield. Sometimes to find that out, you need a moment to process. We're talking about on Sundays the process of God. And when you don't process things, it's no telling what you will do when you don't process what you will have just heard, what you will have just experienced. Always take time to process. See, that brings us to the strategy number 2, which is withdraw. Withdraw. You feel that there is no use arguing because you feel nothing will change. But sometimes this is the most effective tool that you can use at the time to give you a cool-off period. But it is only a temporary strategy. You have to simply withdraw. See, homegirl should have withdrawn. She should have just withdrawn and processed the information, gotten all of the facts before she decided to do anything. She should have withdrawn. There's a time to yield. There's a time to just withdraw. Years ago, when I was a part of a junior achievement company, the first time that I joined the program, we were with a company and a group of people that I did not respect the leadership. They were mediocre at best. And something on the inside of me said, you know, you can't be a part. I mean, I was mentally correcting everything they were doing. And so I'm like, either y'all gonna have to change or I'm gonna have to change. They were in leadership, I was not. I withdrew. I withdrew from the company. I left. I came back the following year. I was in leadership. We finished as a second best, most profitable company in the whole program. But I withdrew the first time because I was not in concert with the leadership. And instead of staying there and making trouble for the leadership, I withdrew. There are only two types of people in the world: peacemakers and hell raisers. Which one are you? I'm a peacemaker. I have a call and an anointing of God on my life. I'm a peacemaker. I'm a peacemaker. But there are hell raisers. Touch your neighbor, say, I know that person. As long as you are not that person. But there's some times that you yield, there are other times that you withdraw. Remember, withdrawal is a temporary strategy. Sometimes you need to let people cool off because they need to process something. And if you have some real strong emotional news to tell people, you better tell them over the telephone maybe and give them time to cool off. Now, I would have thought that that lady in Kansas would have cooled off in the 250 miles that she was driving. But you know, sometimes when you think about stuff, you're getting madder as you drive, you know. I would have loved to have been a fly on the windshield, maybe, well, not on the windshield, but somewhere buzzing around in the car to be able to hear what she was articulating. Here's the third strategy: compromise. Compromise. You give a little, you get a little. You give a little, you get a little. You either yield, you withdraw, you compromise. You compromise. Here's number 4. You resolve. You resolve the issue. And you don't resolve the issue without being able to understand each other and then working out a plan. Resolving involves understanding and working out a plan. You understand. When you resolve an issue, you understand the issue, and then you work out a plan. Then the 5th method is win. You know, this is what some people that have these dominating personality, the alpha dog kind of personality. Let me just remind you that the goal should be for the resolution to be perceived by both parties as a win. It should be that I win and you win. Because unless both parties feel good about the deal, you won't have repeat business. I've got to feel good about it, you've got to feel good about it. And if I don't win and you don't win, then we really don't have true resolution. That I'll do this and you'll do that and you come up with an agreement, but it's got to be where you win here, I win here. We both are winners. And that's the way, the signs of a really good working deal. It really is. I love something, you know, the McDonald's Corporation, they have a problem-solving approach that grants them repeat business. They use the acrostic LAST. And here's what it stands for. The L stands for listen. You listen to the problem, listen to the complaint. Listen to the complaint. The A here is apologize. Apologize. You listen and then you apologize. You know, just think of yourself being in a McDonald's and you're complaining because, you know, my fries were cold. Or I paid for a large drink and you gave me a medium. You listen to the complaint and then you apologize. Apologize. Listen and then apologize. The S is solve the problem. Solve the problem. Give them some hot fries. Give them the large drink. Solve the problem. And then the T is to thank them for their understanding and their patience. You thank them for their understanding and their patience. You have a conflict with a person? Listen to the issue. Apologize. You know, I'm from the old school where the customer is always right. And there's no need for a business owner to be explaining to me why he's right and I'm wrong, because I won't be back. Because I feel like you win and I don't win. And if I feel like I don't win, I'm not coming back to help you win again. And you have no concern about helping me to win. It needs to be a win-win. Not only that you give me some hot fries, you throw an apple pie in. You know, I mean, do something, make me feel good about it. I want to feel like I win. You see, a good manager will know how to do something to make the other party feel good. You listen, you apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry that this happened. I'm so sorry you found a bone in your food. I'm so sorry for the roach that was there. May I get you something else? But you listen, you apologize, you solve the problem, and you thank them. You thank them. It's a great strategy. It's a great strategy. Now, whenever conflict arises and you realize that you've done wrong, I want to give you some steps for your own personal life when you have been the instigator for the issue. Number one, apologize. 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 Number two, ask yourself why you broke trust. Why you broke trust. Ask yourself why you broke trust. Why you broke trust. Number three, correct the issue in your life. Now, you may need professional help. Some of you might need to be medicated. No. Honestly, you may need professional help. You may need an accountability partner as a part of helping you to correct the issue. You may need others. You might need a support group to help you to correct the issue. Number four, recognize that it takes longer to restore trust than it does to lose it. Please recognize that it takes longer to restore trust than it does to lose it. Forgiveness is instantaneous, but restoration is a process. You can instantly forgive a person, but to be restored back to that same level of trust is a process. And then I want you to understand this one very, very clearly. Put an asterisk by this one. Remember that trust is restored by deeds, not words. Oh, baby, I promise I ain't gonna do that no more. Trust is restored by deeds, not just words. Trust is restored by deeds, not just words. I promise, sir, I'm not going to steal anymore. Trust is restored by deeds, not just words. Trust. It is restored by deeds, not just words. And when you begin to understand that if you take personal responsibility and if you apologize, if you will ask yourself why you broke trust, if you will correct that issue in your life, whether it means that you've got to read some material, that you need to go to professional help, that you need to get an accountability partner, that you recognize that it takes longer to restore trust than it does to lose it, and when you remember that trust is restored by deeds and not just words, it's a process. It is a process. And after you've done wrong and then you've realized it, don't dwell on what went wrong. Instead, focus on what to do next. And then spend your energies on moving forward to find the solution. Use your energies to move forward and then find the solution. Now, there are several other things that I have to teach you about conflict resolution. I want to give you the real nuts and bolts of it. I didn't have time. Tonight, all of my time is gone. Time seems to fly when you're having fun. But I want you to realize that our world is filled with situations that creates conflict in our souls, conflict in our relationships, on our jobs, sometimes in our own mind. And God wants to be able to heal those areas in your life where conflict has brutalized your life. And it has estranged relationships. When you have unresolved conflict, it creates separation and isolation. Separation and isolation. I don't care how old you get, you'll have conflict. No matter how young you are, you'll have conflict. It doesn't matter how saved you are. You don't get any more saved than Paul and Barnabas. They had conflict and they fell out. Did it mean that they never walked in love again? I don't think that that's what it meant. It was a testament to their humanity. Have you not gotten upset? You're a human being. Some people have an anointing to tick you off. But you know what? As you grow, you learn these principles of conflict resolution. and that power will begin to diminish in your life. I'm just here to tell you, that power to tick you off will diminish in your life. When I finish with you, you're going to be like, you ain't going to worry me. Don't let anybody drive your blood pressure up. You know, listen, you got to live. You know, after all that stuff is said and done, you better learn how to turn on something and laugh and let the world laugh with you, because if you weep, you'll weep alone. This sad old earth, you know, it's got enough mirth of its own, and they're not going to come into your sorrow. Nobody wants to come in and cry with people who are depressed. Psychologists tell us that when a person is really going through a trauma in their own life, they say even the closest friend will not ask you any more than 2 really deeply penetrating questions concerning your problem, because they can't deal with it. There's only so much of your heart luck drama that they even want to hear. They don't even want to know anymore. About 2 questions deep, and that's enough. It's like, okay, what's what we having to eat now? But I do want you to know that if you're dealing with conflict in your life, and if you're not dealing with it right now, you will in the future at some point. You either just came out of a conflict, or you're in one, or you're headed to one. So the teaching at some point will be relevant. And I want to equip you with some things that I believe that will be an incredible blessing from God into your life. And it's going to bless you in a wonderful way. I hope that you got something out of the teaching, the word of the Lord tonight.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.